What's up, y'all? This is DJ Kenny Parker, DJ and producer for KRS-One / Boogie Down Productions, and today I'm back with another video. Now, today's video is part of my series that I call Epic Fails, when hip-hop goes wrong. Today's topic, y'all, is the legendary New York City nightclub, The Tunnel. Now, before I get started, let me shout out my man Stu's design for the t-shirt and logo that you guys see in most of my videos. Big up to him. Okay, let's get started. For those of you guys that don't know, The Tunnel is a legendary nightclub in New York City that started doing a hip-hop night on Sunday nights, led by the legendary DJ of Hot 97, Funk Master Flex. The Tunnel started doing their hip-hop night sometime around 1993 and lasted all the way up into the early 2000s. In this time, The Tunnel became the biggest, longest running, and most popular hip-hop nightclub in the history of New York City. Now, I've mentioned many times on this channel that I used to hang out a lot, more than I should have. And one of my favorite spots to hang out at was The Tunnel. I have been going to The Tunnel Nightclub at least 20 to 25 times a year, every year from 1993 through the 90s. I got to see everybody in there. Everybody used to come in there and hang out. And I've got to see a bunch of amazing performances. I've seen Notorious B.I.G. perform there. I've seen Jay-Z perform there. I've seen Nas perform there. I've even seen Dr. Dre and Snoop perform there. And as a member of BDP and KRS-One, I got to perform there in 1997. Now, let me tell you guys two stories that I consider epic fails. One was a small story and one was a major one. Okay, let's start with the small one first. The year was 1998, and The Tunnel had opened up a special night just to shoot a video for an up-and-coming artist named DMX. And he was shooting the video for his debut single, Get At Me, Dog. Of course, I had to go check this out. Get At Me, Dog was a banging record already playing in the mix shows, and if The Tunnel was open and I was free, I was going. So I went to The Tunnel with a couple of friends, including my good homegirl, shout out to her, Dana. So we got right up to the front of the stage. We're literally just a few feet back from the stage, and I'm looking up, waiting to see DMX, who was doing like a live performance, and they were gonna film it for his video. So we're looking up, and I'm waiting for DMX, and there was a little commotion coming from the side, but I wasn't really paying any attention because I'm looking straight at the stage waiting to see DMX. All of a sudden, y'all, I heard, Onyx! And the next thing you know, about 30 to 40 dudes came rushing this way, headed towards the stage, knocking people over, not caring who they hit. And it was just, Onyx! And by the time I looked over, bam! A wave of dudes knocked me down. I was literally on one knee, y'all, and more of them was coming. I was about to get trampled by Timberlands and hoodies. I was in bad shape. I was down. Luckily for me, my homegirl Dana, she literally pulled me by my arm and picked me up off the ground just in time for me not to get stomped out by Onyx headed to the stage from the side. I don't know what Onyx was doing performing at the DMX video shoot, but they did this impromptu performance and I almost got seriously hurt, y'all. Shout out to my homegirl Dana for picking me up off the ground at the Tunnel. And for me, y'all, that was a fast forward to a year later, 1999, and I went to The Tunnel to see one of my favorite artists, a top 5 all-time artist for me, Reggie Noble, aka Redman. And he had just dropped a new album with Method Man of the Wu-Tang Clan called Blackout. Now, being the huge Redman and Method Man fan that I am, I was not gonna miss this performance. So they were doing a show at the Tunnel, so I went there by myself and slid into the Tunnel. Now keep in mind, y'all, when the Tunnel first opened in 93, 94, 95, there used to be all kind of celebrities in there. You used to see the who's who of rap, movies, all entertainment, athletes, everybody was in the Tunnel. But as the years progressed, it started to get more thugged out. 96, 97, 98, you started to see less celebrities and more thugs. And the security in there was gigantic. Every security guard in there had to be at least 6'7", 300 pounds, and there was like 30 of them, and they were not playing in the Tunnel. You would come to the Tunnel, they would make you take your shoes off. They never made me take my shoes off, but they would make everybody else take their shoes off. You'd have to walk through a metal detector, and while you're walking, they would separate the men from the women. And the men would go on one side, the women would go on the other side. And as the men are coming in, you're taking off your shoes, and security is yelling at you, if we catch you with any kind of razor, we're f***ing you up and we're throwing you out the club. If we catch you smoking weed, we're f***ing you up and we're throwing you out the club. This is how they're talking to you as you're walking into the club. I'm like, am I going to Rikers Island or am I going to a party to have a good time? So I go inside the Tunnel to see Redman. Now, if you guys don't know, Redman is a native of Newark, New Jersey. And being the regular to the Tunnel that I am, I noticed that the energy was a little off this night. Now, it's normally thugged out in the Tunnel by 1999, but what I noticed was there was a lot of dudes in there from Jersey. Of course, because Redman was there. You can tell when certain dudes and certain elements are looking for trouble. And these guys from Jersey were in there looking for trouble, as was a few other boroughs of New York. So the show starts, Redman comes out, Method Man comes out, they got crazy energy. They're doing their songs, I'm loving it. A big fight breaks out. Security comes, they break it up. 5 minutes later, another fight breaks out. Security comes, they break it up. 10 minutes later, another fight breaks out. Security comes and they break it up. I'm like, you know what? It's a little bit too much for me. I've had enough of this. As soon as Red and Meth get off this stage, I'm out of here. And normally I would stay in the Tunnel till about 2 o'clock in the morning. But I was like, nah, I'm out of here as soon as this show is over. This is too wild even for me, and I'm used to the Tunnel. So as soon as the show ends, I'm like, okay, I'm headed to the door. Now, in order to get to the door, you have to go back past the coat check to leave out the Tunnel. So I get to the coat check area, I'm walking out. There's another brawl at the door. And it looks like Jersey versus I don't know who, but they're fighting again at the door. And right in front of me was two guys fighting, and one guy was just taking massive shots to the face. This guy looked like he took 8 unresponded shots to the face right in front of me. He was down. I'm like, oh man, everybody had to back up. Security comes, they break it up again. So now I said, okay, let me see if I could slide out the door now. So now security is throwing everybody out that looked like they was part of this fight. And you could see one guy, maybe the guy who was getting beat up or maybe somebody else, his eyes are all bloodshot. He looked like he was crying. And they was telling him, we don't care, get out. So I'm like, oh man. So I'm like, let me get out of here. So now when you come out of the Tunnel, you have two choices. You can either go left. The Tunnel is on 27th Street between, I believe, 11th and the West Side Highway. So you could come out of the Tunnel, make a left, and go down the long street to 11th Avenue. Now keep in mind, the Tunnel held about 2,000 people. And on a Sunday night, not only would there be 2,000 people inside, but there would be like 1,000 people outside the Tunnel that couldn't even get in. So even when you left the tunnel, there was mad people outside. So I left out the tunnel. I said, I am not going down 27th towards 11th where all the people are. I'm going to make this right and go by the West Side Highway where it's just cars going by. It's a literal highway and there's not that many people that way. So I said, I'm going to go this way and I'm going to walk down a couple of blocks and then make my way home. So I walked down, I walked to 27th, I walked to 26th, and when I got to about 26th, going and a half, so I'm about a block and a half away, I hear commotion down the block by the West Side Highway, right at the corner where the tunnel is. Another brawl. This time there's a bunch of dudes fighting, and it looks like it was about 15 against 2. And one of the dudes, they was giving it to this dude, and he was running for them, and he actually went under a car, a parked car. He went under a parked car to stop these dudes from stomping and beating on him. Now I'm watching this, and I'm a block and a half away by myself, but I could still see what's going on. And I'm saying to myself, you know what? I need to put some pep in my step because these guys are just out here wilding, and they might think that even though I'm down the block, that I'm part of this little crew of people that they were looking for. And as you know, mistaken identity could get you in a lot of trouble. So I'm like, let me put a little pep in my step. So I started walking a little quicker. And I said, when I get to 25th, I'm going to make this left where I won't even see anybody. All of a sudden, y'all, now let me say this for YouTube. All of a sudden, y'all, I heard pop, 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 pop. I'm like, oh no. Y'all know what that means. I got to get the hell out of here now. And as you know, how can I say it? The heat has no name on it. Even though you're a block and a half away, you could catch one astray and be in bad shape. So for the first time in my life, and keep in mind, y'all, I've been hanging out in clubs. The first time I went to a club was in 1986, the legendary Latin Quarter, when my brother first dropped his hit record, South Bronx, South Bronx. I've been going to clubs since the legendary Latin Quarters, which was another very dangerous club in 86. This is 1999. I've been to clubs all around the world. And for the first time in my life, y'all, I ran. I heard that pop, 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 and I started running. And I was a block and a half away. And I was like, yo, let me get out of here. And I ran the 25th and West Side Highway. And then I quickly made a left. So I'm like, okay, I won't get hit by any shrapnel. But I kept a little pep in my step. And then I started running a little more like, I'm going to get away from this area. And that was my very last time going to the tunnel. And I had been going to the tunnel. I had been to the tunnel at least 200 plus times over the years. And not only did I never go to the tunnel again, but I stopped really hanging out at clubs altogether. And my brother used to tell me all the time, yo, Kenny, you hang out too much. You hang out too much. And I used to be like, yeah, Chris, I know, but I just love hip hop so much. And when I first went to the Latin Quarters, I was like a fiend because when I got that rush of the energy of the crowd and hip hop at its purest in a club, I became addicted to it. And I've been hanging out ever since. And for those 13 years, I was a party animal. But that night at the tunnel to see Redman and Method Man, it changed my whole perspective. And from that point on, I decided I had enough of the nightlife. And that's what really broke what I would consider an addiction to hanging out. No disrespect to Red and Meth. It wasn't their fault. It was just certain elements were in there. and it was a bad combination, and you could tell as soon as you walked in that there was going to be problems. And from that point on, I would go to clubs sparingly, only if somebody I wanted to see was performing, and then I was out. I never went to a club again after that just to hang out. And that was in 1999, y'all. It's 2024, and I was pretty much done. So, as far as that experience goes for me, that was an... I really hope you guys enjoyed my story. If you did, please give me a like and a thumbs up. And if you don't have the book, please pick up the book. My brother's name is Kenny. It's the true origin story of BDP. I got all kind of stories in there. It's action-packed. The link is in the description down below. And I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.